Hi guys, in this video we're going to be learning about array lists. Array lists allow us to store a list of objects. And because the array list in Java is itself an object, it also implements a particular interface. And we'll talk more about interfaces in a later video. But because of the fact that they implement an interface, it means that they provide a set of additional functionality over, for example, a simple array. So the key difference between an array and an array list is the fact that the size of the list can be dynamic in an array list. So you can increase and decrease the size as required for your particular program. Whereas with an array, that value is fixed. And you don't get the additional functionality offered with an array list. So let's start with declaring an array list. Back into our main method, we're going to type out ArrayList, and you'll see that as you type it, it pops up here in IntelliJ as a suggested type. So we'll type ArrayList, and then we'll use angled brackets, and now we're going to provide a type for that array list. So in other words, what is the type of the thing that it's going to store? So we're going to store a set of strings or a list of strings, because what we're going to do in this array list is simply store a list of names. We're going to call the variable names, so it has a type of array list which will store string values, and we're going to equal that to a new array list. And we're going to end it with a semicolon. And notice as well how we have parentheses because we're constructing the array list. Now, if you remember with arrays, we could simply declare and instantiate the array on the same line, but we can't do that with an array list. So we need to type out names.add. And the add method will add a new element to the array list. We're going to add our first name. We'll type Amir. We'll add another, names.add, Rebecca. We'll add another one, names.add, John. And we'll just add one more, names.add, Bill. So we've created an array list, and we've now populated that array list with some values. The simplest way to print all these out is with a for loop. So the for loop is going to run through each item in the array list and print them out. So for string name colon names. And this is slightly different to the original way that we wrote the for loop, where we would declare int I equals 0, so we're declaring a variable and then we're using that variable as kind of an index. And that's what we would do if we were using an array. But because we're using an array list, we can do it in this format. So we simply have to say the type and a variable name for each of the items within the names list. And we know that names itself is an array list of string, so we need to say for each name string, we want to do something with that. So let's type sout name. So when we run this method, it's simply going to populate some values into an array list, and it's then going to print them out. Let's run this. And you can see here in the console that it's printed out Amir, Rebecca, John and Bill, the values that were in the array list. So with this way, we can display each of the names on a different line. But just to simplify this, we can remove the for loop and do sout names. And this will do a very similar thing, but it'll print them all out on one line, as you can see here. Now let's demonstrate what will happen when we add a new value into the array. So with this array list, we have at position 0, Amir, position 1, Rebecca, position 2, John, and at position 3, we have Bill. So let's try something else now. Let's say that, for example, at position 2, currently where John is, we want to add another name. So what will happen if we try to add something at position 2? You might think that it will remove the value of John and replace it with our new value, but what's actually going to happen is that it will add our new name into position 2 where John is, and it will move John onto the next index. So it will move it onto the index of 3, and it will move Bill onto the index of 4. So let's try that out. Names.add. And if I do Control P or Command P on my keyboard, you can actually see here that there's two options for this add method. We can either supply a string, in other words, we can just supply a string value for a new name and it will add it to the end of the list, or we can provide an index and the name. Providing the index means that we want to store the particular element at a particular index. So as we said, let's store it at position 2. And we'll use the name James. We'll then call another printout statement with the names again, so we can see what's happening. Run the application. And you can see here now that James has been added here at position 2. So we have position 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So John was previously at position 2. But because we added James into position 2, it's moved John onto position 3 and Bill onto position 4. Now let's try something different again. What about if we wanted to change a particular value in the array? Rather than simply adding it, perhaps we wanted to replace the name Rebecca with Jane. So we can do that. And what we have to do is type out names.set, which needs an index. As you can see here, as I'm typing out, it needs an index and the string. We know that Rebecca is at position 1 because it starts with position 0, then 1. And we want to now give the new name. So let's use Jane. And again, we'll print out the contents of the array so that we can see the new values. Play the application. And you can see here now on our third printout statement here, we've got now Amir, Jane. So it's replaced Rebecca with Jane at position 1, as is written here. Another piece of functionality that the ArrayList offers is the ability to remove an element. So let's try that. Names.remove, and we can remove a particular index. So we're going to use this one, remove int index. And now we need to provide it with the index value of the one we want to remove. So for example, if we wanted to remove John, then we'd have to remove the index 0, 1, 2, 3. So we'd need to remove the element at index 3. So I'm going to type names.remove index 3. And again, let's print it out so we can see the result of that command. Names, run the application again. And you can see here that once we've removed the value at index 3, which is John, the list now only has 4 items in it and John has disappeared. One final thing that you can do with the array list is that we can get the size of it. So currently there's 4 items in the array at this point here. Through each of these commands, we've resulted in there being, on our last printout statement of names, we've resulted in there being 4 items in the array. So let's print that out as a statement. So we'll do sout, the size of the names array is colon, leave a space, the concatenator operator, and then we'll do names dot size. And you can see here. It's just a method, takes no parameters, and it returns the length of the array. Let's run the command, and you can see here that it says the size of the names array is 4. The final thing I'm going to talk about in this video is the way that we can sort an array list. So let's go ahead and delete this code, and we're going to create a new array list of type string again, and we're going to call it colors equals new array list. So we're creating a brand new array list with a variable name of colors, and we're going to simply add colors.add blue, colors.add orange, colors.add black, colors.add white, colors.add purple, colors.add green, and finally colors.add red. So let's go ahead and print out this list as it is at the moment. So we'll simply do systemout.println colors. Run the application, and as we expected, it's printed out each of the colors in the list, and they're in the same order that we added them to the list. Now let's say that we want to display this list alphabetically. Let's go back to our code and type collections, so collections plural, dot sort, and the sort method requires a list, and we have a list here of colors. So we type colors. This method is now going to sort the colors alphabetically. We can now do another printout statement with colours again, and we should see that the colours are now displayed alphabetically. Let's run that application again. So you can see here, there's our original in the original order, and our second one has printed them out alphabetically. We are going to go into more detail regarding the collections class and the kind of things that it can do in a later video. But for now, that's everything that I'm going to go through in this video. Thank you very much for listening. I really hope you found this video useful, and if you did, then please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.